Hey dear viewer, this is Almighty Z, and it's time we talk about something once near and dear to us. Something that gave us fond memories of love and joy. A period of time when we were excited every time we saw them, and wondered what new experiences we'd have. For some of us, they left meaningful impacts on our lives, and gave us good messages on how to handle life's challenges. But over the last several years, they've changed for the worst. They're forgetting who they were, now making terrible financial decisions, and despising those who helped support them over the years. You've lost who they once were, and now you wonder how much closer they are to the sweet release of death. What? Oh, no, this isn't about Grandma. This is about the MCU. Duh.
Gotcha, bitch!
I gotta say, it is astounding how far the quality of their movies have fallen over the last couple years. And Brave New World has the worst qualities of post-Endgame Marvel. Nonsensical plot? Check. Subpar CGI? Check. Quippy humor that's run its course and is inserted in inappropriate moments? Check. Ignoring or retconning previous events to make your story work? Check. Forgetting the fact that it's a cinematic universe with dozens of other active superheroes around the world. So if a major conflict arises, many should be showing up to help but don't? Check. But this film has an added bonus of extensive reshoots during post-production. Supposedly done due to terrible internal and external test screenings throughout 2024. Including 3 months before the premiere. Giancarlo Esposito's character that was highly promoted was apparently heavily involved in the reshoots to try and give his character more presence and define his role as the leader of the Serpent Society. Hardly a presence in this story, by the way, which I'll get to, or having to change Sabra, an Israeli superhero due to Middle Eastern conflicts, into just some Israeli security advisor for the president. And along with major scenes apparently cut after initial test screenings, this film was highly edited after the external screenings in November. So if you wonder why many scenes feel rushed, important characters are suddenly thrusted in, and conflicts seem to be ignored after they're introduced, this is the culprit. Marvel will claim this is all normal. The reality is, it was for damage control. To make the turd smell less bad, and to try and cover up the potentially enormous budget this ballooned to due to all the reshoots. In grandma terms, this is when she gets scammed into investing her net worth into hot Tua coin. Brave New World is promoted as an espionage thriller about finding who is attempting to kill the president and potentially take over the world. Except it's actually a revenge story and feels more like a sequel to the 2008 Incredible Hulk than a story about the new Captain America. And Ross is the more dynamic character in Brave New World compared to Sam. This movie's more about him than Captain America. And in hindsight, this really shows how little confidence Marvel had in a new story purely about Sam Wilson taking up the mantle of Captain America. And I say story loosely. All the espionage aspects are quickly solved with a myriad of issues and then explained in ungodly detail to make all motivations abundantly clear. So what remains is a hodgepodge of tying loose ends to an earlier MCU film no one really asked for. And for one last note that is spoiler free, this film really tries to build up the anticipation and tension around Red Hulk, of what kind of monster Ross may physically be turning into when angered, and it builds towards the film's climax. But because Ross becoming Red Hulk was so heavily promoted, it feels so dull when it finally happens. I've never encountered an MCU movie until now where the marketing clearly dampened the film's climax. But enough dilly-dallying, let's talk spoilers.
You have been warned.
The film begins with Ross being elected president and promising to unite everyone in the US and around the globe. 5 months later, Sam is helping Ross stop an illegal sale of adamantium in Mexico by Sidewinder, leader of the Serpent Society. Do they have any unique worldview or goal to make them interesting baddies? Not really, they're just simple thugs to beat up. The buyer never shows up, and Sam is equipped with new vibranium wings as a gift from Wakanda and is easily able to subdue the society. Or almost. He takes his time to fight a big burly thug by hand and lets Sidewinder escape. And it's doubly stupid because Torres is now joining Sam as his new Falcon using his old suit. He can get the adamantium supply, but not find Sidewinder. Hope that doesn't bite them in the ass later. With the success of the mission, Ross invites them to a special meeting at the White House with other world leaders. Sam brings along Isaiah Bradley, the forgotten and abused super soldier from the Korean War. Ross pulls Sam aside and thanks him for his work on the mission, and he also wants Sam to reunite the Avengers and they'll be under his leadership. Sam is hesitant about the idea, which is logical since Ross wants oversight over superheroes, and Sam went against the Sokovia Accords in Civil War. Would be nice if this conflict was explored more throughout the film, and if the state of the Avengers was solidified as well, but guess what? This is never brought up again. As for the meeting itself, Ross addresses everyone about the celestial carcass in the Indian Ocean from the Eternals. Glad they finally brought it up after the last 4 years, but it's insane that the first reaction from our characters is so casual. This should be one of the most terrifying events in the MCU, and that's saying something. But within the meeting, Ross says research teams discovered the celestial island had adamantium, an element more indestructible than vibranium, yes, it's a real line, and more versatile in its uses. How does a celestial contain such an important element? Shut up, don't think about it. X-Men are coming, X-Men are coming. So Ross proposes a fair trade agreement between the attendants, and the major players are the US, Japan, India, and France. But here's another problem. Where are all the other countries around the Indian Ocean? Why aren't Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Kenya, South Africa, and Australia also present and interested in the world-changing resource close to them? And why aren't the big asshole countries like Russia, China, and North Korea involved or threatening to take the celestial island for their own? You can't introduce a major new element in neutral territory to the world and not expect the global conflict to be more complex than what is presented here. But suddenly, Isaiah Bradley and 4 other men reach for guns and try to kill Ross. They're all subdued and don't remember anything afterwards. An angered Ross brings Sam and the head of his security, that's Seraph, into the bunker. Both have pieced together that the men were brainwashed after flashes appeared on their phone and played the song Mr. Blue. Sam is upset that Isaiah isn't being treated well and wants his release, but Ross won't do it until there is solid evidence who is behind it. Then he dismisses Sam from any government duties. This is a reasonable response from Ross because he almost got killed, yet Sam doesn't see it that way. And the movie is painting him in the right. I understand you're trying to care about Isaiah's trauma returning with being imprisoned, but when the president is almost killed, Captain America may need to recognize the bigger picture. And when leaving the bunker, Sam is attacked by Sidewinder. His car explodes, bullets pierce it, but he's fine. Somehow. And he's not even wearing his suit. Once Sidewinder is subdued, someone calls him and tells Sam, nice job, but there's more to be done. Torres is able to trace the call to a likely black site in West Virginia. They go off the grid to find it by ditching their smartphones, except Torres brings a flip phone with him.
What are you, fucking stupid?
Alert to the Zoomers in the writing room. The Patriot Act allowed the government to tap into any phone, including flip phones. Those aren't off the grid. And it's all for Torres to get a text that the other brainwashed assassins were killed in their cells. So a moment to make Torres an idiot and bring up the status of the other assassins. Cool. They find a site and sneak in to find a cell with all sorts of technology, lab equipment, and images of various people with their medical history, including all the assassination members, Isaiah and Ross. Then out of the shadows emerges Samuel Stearns.
Who?
Don't blame you if you don't remember. Samuel Stearns was a scientist who tried to help cure Bruce Banner in the Incredible Hulk movie. He ended up getting infected with Banner's blood, and now he looks like this. And clunkily monologues to Sam and Torres that he has been imprisoned by Ross ever since and has been used for his intellect, making weapons and helping him win the presidency. He was promised a pardon for his efforts, but hasn't gotten one. Stearns was behind the Serpent Society getting the adamantium to conduct the sale, as he was the buyer. He is also behind the assassination as he has the medical records of everyone he needs to know how to brainwash them at the right time. And his revenge is only beginning.
Everybody got that?
Oh boy, where to begin with the incoherent skullfuckery I just uttered? Let's start with Samuel Stearns. The last time we saw you in 2008, you were a helpful and curious man who specialized in biological studies. You have been communicating with Banner for some time, seeing if you could help. You saw potential in curing diseases with his blood, and made many compounds after synthesizing it. And of your last moments on screen, you were barely conscious and about to begin transforming. But now, you suddenly have all these extra capabilities we never knew you had. Hacking countless databases, producing weapons, able to create statistical probabilities of every scenario on the spot. This true villain twist the movie thinks is so clever isn't at all. It's jarring, because you are a completely new character compared to the past, with an added history we haven't seen, and we've been given no time to establish who you are now. We should get time to see what you're fully capable of, but you've spelled out entirely who you are and what you want because screw any subtlety. We need to get this constructed with spare parts story back on the road. Now about how the hell you've been able to do all this. You shouldn't. How exactly did you get the medical information of only the required personnel needed while in jail? You know, a place known for its tight rules and security around dangerous people. especially cybersecurity if you had access to the internet. But if you had free reign, I guess Ross is a complete idiot for letting you do whatever you wanted. And how could you have gotten the medical records of Isaiah, the man erased from history, and all government records scrubbed? It can't just be, but you're super smart now, because even intelligence can only go so far. If records from the 50s to the 80s about a man were physically destroyed, intelligence can't make you read them from the scraps that may or may not even be there. Oh, and somehow you didn't get the records of Sam, Torres, Bat Seraph, or anyone else that is close to the president. If you did, and got everyone within the vicinity of Ross to be brainwashed, you would have gotten the job done. It's almost like they have some kind of armor around them for plot purposes. Oh, and after this, Stern just walks out and the Black Site's guards attack Sam and Torres. It was never established or implied if Stearns also had complete control of the guards. Like if the Black Site operates only on a surface level, like it's a prison. And if he did, Ross is an even bigger idiot for not constantly checking in and surveilling the security of his most valuable asset, to ensure he could never escape or manipulate those around him. Especially with the upcoming aid that Ross also relies on Stearns for. But luckily, Bat Seraph finds Sam and Torres and rescues them from the guards and helps them escape. The three go to Sidewinder's imprisoned location, and Sam gets out of him that Stearns wants to just destroy Ross's reputation.
What? What?
Did everyone, including Stearns, forget the attempted murder that kills more than just a reputation? By this point, just give Ralph Wiggum the reins. I trust his judgment more than anyone involved. Meanwhile, Ross has been trying to get the treaty back on, but Japan refuses because they think Ross was the one who orchestrated the Serpent Society stealing the adamantium. Yep, Stern somehow sent Japan this information, and they bought it hook, line, and sinker. This leads to Japan sending its navy to control the Celestial Island, and the US launches a counteroffensive. It's presented as an even match, despite how Japan's navy only handles its own borders, and its personnel is 6 times smaller than the US's. But luckily, Sam, Torres, and Bat Seraph travel halfway across the world in time to try and de-escalate the situation. But unluckily, Stearns activates 2 pilots to be brainwashed, and they start attacking Japan's navy. Now, with the big global conflict being heavily televised, you'd think that, I don't know, other superheroes may want to show up, because this could lead to another world war, and heroes don't want that. I know the meta reason is they're taken for other projects and actor contracts can be pricey, but in universe, with the interconnected stories you've told, other heroes on Earth would step in. You did this with Civil War's conflict, you can do it again. War Machine, Ant-Man, Bucky Barnes, all of the sorcerers on Kamatage are just a couple on Earth that should be here. Sam and Torres suit up and stop the pilots, but Torres gets seriously hurt in the process. And during the fight, Stearns goes to an admiral's house, kills him, and takes his phone. Stearns' sudden appearances happen more, by the way. If Ross was able to order a manhunt on Stearns, which could be easy since he's deformed, maybe his plans wouldn't be occurring. But, shut up to think about it. Stearns calls and taunts Ross with how much of a failure he will be and asks how his health is holding up. Because you see, Ross also relied on Stearns to make a pill for heart failure because, and I quote, "no other doctors anywhere could help." But over time, Stearns kept injecting gamma radiation into him, slowly altering Ross's blood. Hey Ross, you know Stearns might not have been poisoning you if you gave him a pardon and made him sign some form of NDA. Could have been a nice mutual deal. He gets freed, you remain healthy, but your way is as logical as shitting on stilts. Back in the States, Sam watches surgeons perform on Torres, and Bucky shows up. Wait, what? What the fuck? Bucky is here? Where the hell have you been, you one-armed donut? Are all the earthly Avengers just having a beer and waiting for all this chaos to blow over? But why is he here? To give a pep talk and call Sam the best choice for Captain America. He doesn't give any concrete points based on what he's done and make the talk more meaningful, but his feelings are better. Good job. Oh, and we find out Bucky's running for Congress when he leaves. You know, if he stays to help Sam with the Red Hulk coming up, it would be an absolute slam dunk for his election, and it would be in character for him. But we gotta save him for Thunderbolts! Thunderbolts! Go and be excited! Go watch! Shut up and don't think about it! Outside, Stern arrives through bullshit and actually surrenders. Because his final plan is to transform Ross and it's to prove a point. It's done during the conference of the Celestial Trade Treaty, which is back on, and Stern somehow got to play his phone call to Ross over the speakers, making him angry and turning him into the Red Hulk.
And there was much rejoicing.
Behold the gosh darn diddly phone there, Stearns. You didn't have to surrender to make this plan happen. You had this pre-programmed and never had to be at the conference to activate it. And once you surrender, all of the evil things you did will come to light, and there is no chance you'll get a pardon from anyone. If you remained in hiding, you still have some leverage over this. Stearns, you're a complete fucking idiot.
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
But now it's time for the highly promoted fight between Red Hulk and Sam Wilson.
It's lame.
Yeah, even with all the tech Sam is equipped with, because he isn't a super soldier, one partial hit from Red Hulk should kill him. Hulks are kinda swole, and there are a couple of superhuman moments that should have ended Sam's life. As for the army during this, their strategy is to just shoot all your rifles at Hulk. And with all the time spent around Hulk, him being an Avenger, you would think some kind of weapon would have been made to subdue one in case he went bad, or someone would have figured out a sequence to calm down a Hulk, like what Black Widow did, but I would apply some kind of consistent world building. Soldier shooting looks cool or something. Speaking of calming down, that's how this fight ends. Sam and Red Hulk fight for a few minutes, then Sam points out all the cherry blossoms around them to remind Ross about his daughter, who he still loves. Their relationship was mentioned at the beginning to make some kind of arc for Ross, and somehow this works. It would be more effective if he actually saw his daughter in that moment, similar to Superman seeing Lois Lane in Justice League, but we gotta save her for a cameo at the end instead. And it's so unsatisfying to not even see Hulk transform into Ross. Instead, we get cuts and shadows, and earlier Hulk movies didn't even do this. And the movie ends with Ross being incarcerated in the raft, Isaiah is freed, and Torres is now an Avenger. This film is fundamentally broken. Plot, character, spectacle, humor are all bottom of the barrel here. And yet this isn't even the worst MCU movie because Quantumania and Multiverse of Madness exist. And all three have been released since 2022, a continuation of the production of crap. The only arc Sam goes on is if he's worthy enough to handle the mantle of Captain America, but it's hardly explored here. It's addressed as quickly as it's brought up in his convo with Bucky. And that's not even including how this is derived of his arc in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There are never any times where Sam is put in a situation where maybe he was willing to do something Steve couldn't do, to show how he would be a good, yet different to Steve, Captain America. But at least he isn't sympathetic towards terrorists in this one.
This is the only language these people understand.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
Not to mention, his relationship with Torres is also unearned throughout this. Their bromance only had a glimpse in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yet he's already becoming the new Falcon on missions, and apparently rents some kind of compound or apartment with him. Instead, we should have had scenes throughout the film making their bond strong, like how Winter Soldier forged the relationship between Sam and Steve throughout its film. But that was when Marvel gave a shit about its quality and didn't live off its laurels expecting success. I'm not a Marvel hater or a DC fanboy, by the way. I was hooked on the MCU in phases 1 through 3. From Iron Man 2 through Spider-Man Far From Home, I saw all but 2 films of that stretch in the theaters. I grew up with this cultural icon, appreciated the great stories it told, and loved the anticipation of each new film, and wondered what great adventure would come next. But now, I'm indifferent to the MCU. Phase 4 rotted away its virtues and future like a cavity, and bringing Robert Downey Jr. back to be the new big Marvel villain reeks of desperation. The biggest question I'm left with all this is how much longer this MCU journey will actually last. As for you, Marvel,
You've got to do better.
anywho, thank you all for watching. Expect more videos from me, Almighty Z, discussing more media from A to Z. So long.